These 5 soil mistakes are destroying gardens everywhere. And the worst part is that most gardeners have no idea they're making them. Even experienced gardeners who've been growing for decades fall into these traps that can turn years of hard work into complete failure. Today, we're exposing the exact soil errors that kill plants, waste money, and frustrate gardeners, plus the simple fixes that will transform your garden overnight. Here's the brutal truth. You can have perfect weather, expensive plants, and follow every gardening guide perfectly. But if your soil is wrong, nothing will thrive. These 5 mistakes are so common that they show up in over 80% of struggling gardens, yet they're completely preventable once you know what to look for. The average gardener spends over $300 per year trying to fix problems that stem from these basic soil errors. They buy fertilizers, pest sprays, and replacement plants, never realizing that the soil itself is sabotaging their efforts. But when you eliminate these 5 mistakes, your plants will explode with growth, your pest problems will disappear, and your garden will become the envy of the neighborhood. The first mistake is ignoring soil pH, and this single error can make your garden completely unproductive. Most gardeners never test their soil pH, assuming that if plants are growing, the pH must be fine. This is completely wrong. Soil pH determines whether plants can actually absorb the nutrients you're providing. You can add all the fertilizer in the world, but if your pH is wrong, your plants will starve. Here's what happens when pH is off. At a pH above 7.5, iron becomes unavailable to plants, causing yellowing leaves and stunted growth. At a pH below 6, aluminum becomes toxic to most plants, burning their roots and preventing nutrient uptake. Most vegetables need a pH between 6 and 7, but many ornamental plants prefer slightly acidic conditions. The visual signs are everywhere once you know what to look for. Yellowing leaves despite regular fertilizing usually means iron deficiency caused by high pH. Stunted growth and poor flowering often indicate nutrient lockout from incorrect pH levels. Plants that grow slowly despite good care are probably struggling with pH problems. Here's the shocking reality. Soil pH can vary dramatically within a single garden. The area near your house foundation might be alkaline from concrete leaching, while the area under pine trees could be acidic from needle decomposition. Testing multiple locations is essential for understanding your garden's true conditions. The fix is simple, but requires patience. To lower pH, add sulfur or organic matter like pine needles and oak leaves. To raise pH, add lime or wood ash. But make changes gradually, no more than half a point per year. Dramatic pH changes shock plant roots and can kill established plants. The second mistake is compacted soil, and this invisible problem kills more plants than any pest or disease. Soil compaction happens gradually, so most gardeners don't notice it until their plants start failing. Every time you walk on wet soil, drive equipment over it, or work it when it's too moist, you're crushing the air spaces that plant roots need to survive. Compacted soil becomes a concrete-like barrier that roots cannot penetrate. The signs of compaction are subtle at first. Water pools on the surface instead of soaking in. Plants grow slowly, despite adequate fertilizer and water. Root vegetables like carrots become stunted and deformed. Earthworms disappear because they can't move through compressed soil. Here's what most people don't understand. Compaction happens in layers. You might have loose soil on top, but a hardpan layer 6 inches down that blocks root growth and water movement. This hidden compaction layer acts like a concrete floor, preventing deep root development and making plants vulnerable to drought stress. The worst, compaction happens when soil is worked while wet. Wet soil particles stick together and form dense clumps that dry into rock-hard masses. This is why experienced gardeners never work soil that sticks to their tools. The squeeze test tells you everything. If soil forms a ball when squeezed, it's too wet to work. Fixing compaction requires mechanical intervention. For small areas, double digging breaks up compacted layers and restores soil structure. For larger areas, broad forking penetrates deep without mixing soil layers. The key is working when soil moisture is perfect, moist but not wet, crumbly but not dusty. Adding organic matter is crucial for preventing future compaction. Compost, aged manure, and leaf mold create soil structure that resists compression. These materials feed earthworms and beneficial microorganisms that create natural soil aggregation. A soil with 5% organic matter is dramatically more resistant to compaction than soil with 2%. Before we reveal the remaining 3 mistakes that are probably affecting your garden right now, make sure you subscribe to this channel. These soil fundamentals are based on decades of research and field experience. There's much more coming that will save you hundreds of dollars in failed plants and wasted amendments. The third mistake is poor drainage, and this kills more plants than drought, pests, and diseases combined. Most gardeners focus on watering their plants, but completely ignore where that water goes after application. Poor drainage creates waterlogged conditions that suffocate plant roots and create the perfect environment for root rot diseases. Even drought-tolerant plants will die in poorly drained soil. The signs of drainage problems are often misinterpreted. Yellowing leaves are usually blamed on overwatering, but they're actually caused by root suffocation from poor drainage. Fungal diseases that keep returning despite treatment often indicate drainage issues that create constantly moist conditions. Here's the critical test. Dig a hole 18 inches deep and fill it with water. If water remains after 24 hours, you have serious drainage problems that must be addressed before planting anything valuable. Most plants need soil that drains within 6 to 12 hours after heavy rain. Clay soil is the biggest culprit, but sandy soil can also have drainage problems if there's a hardpan layer underneath. Urban soils often have construction debris buried beneath the surface that blocks water movement. Even small amounts of concrete or asphalt can create drainage nightmares. The solution depends on the severity of the problem. Minor drainage issues can be fixed by adding coarse organic matter like aged bark or compost. Serious problems require installing drainage systems or creating raised beds that lift plants above the problem area. French drains are the gold standard for severe drainage problems. These underground channels filled with gravel collect excess water and direct it away from planting areas. The initial cost of $2 to $5 per linear foot pays for itself by preventing plant losses and eliminating the need for constant replanting. Raised beds solve drainage problems immediately and permanently. Beds raised 12 to 18 inches above ground level drain quickly even in heavy clay soil. The key is using a well-draining soil mix. Never fill raised beds with native soil that has drainage problems. The fourth mistake is nutrient imbalance, and this creates a cascade of problems that get worse every year. Most gardeners think more fertilizer equals better plants, but nutrient balance is far more important than total nutrient levels. Excess nitrogen creates lush foliage, but reduces flowering and fruiting. Too much phosphorus blocks iron uptake, causing yellowing despite adequate iron in the soil. Potassium deficiency makes plants vulnerable to disease and cold damage. The signs of nutrient imbalance are everywhere once you know what to look for. Plants that grow vigorously but don't flower or fruit usually have too much nitrogen. Yellowing between leaf veins indicates iron deficiency, often caused by excess phosphorus. Brown leaf edges suggest potassium deficiency or salt buildup from over-fertilization. Here's what creates most nutrient problems. Using the wrong fertilizer for your soil conditions. High phosphorus fertilizers are marketed for flowering, but most soils already have adequate phosphorus. Adding more phosphorus blocks iron and zinc uptake, creating deficiency symptoms despite adequate nutrients in the soil. Organic matter releases nutrients slowly and in balanced ratios, preventing the dramatic imbalances that synthetic fertilizers can create. Compost provides all essential nutrients in forms that plants can use as needed. This biological approach prevents nutrient lockout and creates long-term soil fertility. The solution is soil testing followed by targeted amendments. A complete soil test costs $30 to $50 and reveals exactly which nutrients are deficient, adequate, or excessive. This information lets you provide exactly what your plants need without creating imbalances. Slow-release fertilizers prevent nutrient spikes that can damage plants and create imbalances. These products release nutrients gradually over months, matching plant uptake patterns. They cost more initially, but prevent the boom and bust cycles that stress plants and waste money. The fifth mistake is destroying soil biology, and this turns living soil into sterile dirt that can't support healthy plants. Soil is a living ecosystem containing billions of microorganisms that break down organic matter, cycle nutrients, and protect plants from diseases. Most gardening practices accidentally destroy this biological activity, creating dead soil that requires constant inputs of fertilizers and pesticides. Tilling is the biggest destroyer of soil biology. Every time you till, you're breaking fungal networks that took months to establish. These mycorrhizal fungi increase plant nutrient uptake by up to 40% and improve drought tolerance. Destroying them forces you to provide everything through fertilizers and irrigation. Chemical fertilizers feed plants directly but starve soil microorganisms. These beneficial bacteria and fungi need organic matter to survive. When you rely solely on synthetic fertilizers, the soil biology dies off, leaving you dependent on increasingly expensive inputs. Pesticides and fungicides kill beneficial organisms along with pests. Broad-spectrum treatments destroy the natural balance that keeps pest populations in check. This creates a cycle where you need more and stronger chemicals to control problems that wouldn't exist in biologically active soil. The signs of dead soil are subtle but devastating. Plants grow slowly despite adequate fertilizer. Pest and disease problems increase every year. Soil becomes hard and crusty, requiring more frequent watering. Earthworms disappear, indicating that soil biology has collapsed. Rebuilding soil biology takes time, but transforms your garden permanently. Adding compost introduces beneficial microorganisms and provides the organic matter they need to thrive. Compost tea delivers concentrated beneficial bacteria and fungi directly to plant roots. Avoiding tillage preserves soil structure and protects fungal networks. No-till methods like sheet mulching and broad forking maintain soil biology while improving growing conditions. These techniques require patience initially, but create self-sustaining soil that needs fewer inputs over time. Here's what makes these mistakes so devastating. They compound each other. Poor drainage leads to root problems that make plants vulnerable to diseases. Compacted soil prevents root development, making plants dependent on frequent fertilization. Destroyed soil biology eliminates natural pest control, requiring chemical interventions that further damage soil life. Most struggling gardens have multiple soil problems working together. The gardener sees symptoms like yellowing leaves, poor growth, and pest problems, but treats each symptom separately instead of addressing the underlying soil issues. This approach wastes money and never solves the real problems. When you fix these 5 soil mistakes, everything changes. Plants develop deep, healthy root systems that find their own nutrients and water. Beneficial soil organisms provide natural pest control and disease resistance. Your garden becomes self-sustaining instead of requiring constant intervention. Gardens with healthy soil require 70% less fertilizer and 50% less water than gardens with problem soil. Pest and disease problems decrease dramatically because healthy plants have natural resistance. Plant survival rates increase from 60% to over 90% when soil conditions are optimized. The financial impact is substantial. Fixing soil problems costs $200 to $300 initially, but saves thousands in replacement plants, fertilizers, and pest treatments over the following years. Most soil improvements last for decades, making them the best investment you can make in your garden. More importantly, you'll finally have the garden you've always wanted. Plants will thrive instead of merely surviving. Your harvest will increase dramatically. Neighbors will ask for your secrets, never suspecting that the answer lies beneath the surface in healthy, living soil. These 5 soil mistakes are probably affecting your garden right now, but they're completely fixable once you know what to look for. If you want to dive deeper into building the kind of soil that makes plants thrive, check out our video on composting tips that lead to better soil. You'll learn exactly how to create the rich, living soil